Senate Republican leaders are finally voicing their opinions on what they want to be included in the next stimulus package, and stimulus payments to the American people just came up on the Senate floor from Mitch McConnell. I am going to tell you what he said. Welcome back, everybody, to the early edition of your stimulus update for Tuesday, July 21st. We're going to try and keep all this information down to 5 minutes for you guys, so let's get going right now. Another round of stimulus payments. This is the big news. This is the one that you guys want to hear about. Should I leave it to the end of the video? No, because I'm not going to string you guys along like that. Let me tell you what Mitch McConnell just said from the Senate floor, probably 45 minutes ago. He said this: speaking of building on what works in the CARES Act, we want another round of direct payments. Direct payments to help American families keep driving our national comeback. However, he didn't provide any details. Why is this important? It's important because a lot of people are beginning to lose hope that there's going to be a stimulus payment at all. When I'm reading through the comments, people are saying, Vin, it's not going to happen. Of course, many people want recurring payments, $1,000 or $2,000 a month. But many have just lost hope at all that there's going to be any stimulus payment in the future. But Mitch McConnell just said from the Senate floor that, in fact, yes, he does and they do want to include another stimulus payment. Again, no details, which means who's going to get it. Is it going to be under $40,000? Is it going to be the same as the CARES Act? I've been saying all along, I think it's going to be nearly identical to the CARES Act. The system is already set up to provide quick, fast funding to those individuals and those individuals who need it most. That's the most important news. Next, the PPP program, they want to extend it. Mitch McConnell also said from the Senate floor, with the majority of businesses expected to exhaust their initial paycheck protection funding this summer, we will also be proposing a targeted second round of PPP with a special eye towards hard-hit businesses. That's a good thing. Pushback on no funding for state and local governments. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Mitch McConnell said that they don't want to give any money to state and local governments. There was $1 trillion allocated in the HEROES Act that was written primarily by Democratic leadership. There is zero money allocated in the Republican bill. He's now getting pushback from his own constituents in Kentucky. There was a survey of 1,547 Kentucky voters, and that showed that 65% of them disagreed with McConnell, and they favored the $1 trillion proposal by the Democrats over Mitch McConnell's $0 proposal. I think that's going to play a big impact. And by the way, I think that they're just using tough negotiating strategies. I don't think they're really not going to fund state and local governments. I think what you have right now is you have these hardliners who are saying, listen, we're just negotiating. Let's just start out at zero, and then we'll work our way up. We don't want to start out at $500 billion or $250 billion because then they'll just get more out of us. I think it's terrible to do that right now. This is not the time to use those negotiating tactics, but that's exactly what I think they're doing. I don't think there's going to be zero funding. Matter of fact, the other side's not even going to vote for the bill if they include no funding for state and local governments. Democratic leaderships want in on negotiations right now. This is from Chuck Schumer on CNN. He said, well, our message is to them, let's get going. He said it's a new day. Chuck Schumer hasn't been talking to any Republican leaders. From his mouth, he said nobody's calling him. No one's talking to him. I felt a little sad for Chuck Schumer. He said the Republicans don't even seem to have their own act together. Chuck Schumer said it's hard to negotiate when the president says one thing and Senate Republicans say another. Wow. It's not too often that Chuck Schumer gets a zinger in that's pretty good, and that is true. There's not enough unity on the Republican side. We have too many people remaining too closely to their staunch ideological values in the midst of a different contextual situation in which there's a time to relent on those values, but there will be a time to go back to them as well. Right now is the time to realize people need help. The economy needs help. He also said, we hope they're going to be unified and present something to us later in detail. So Democrat leaderships are looking for negotiations. Money for schools. This is from Mitch McConnell from the Senate floor. He said, this country wants its kids back in the classroom. Yes, it's true, we do, but also safely. This fall, learning, exploring, making friends, their education depends on it. This majority is preparing legislation that will send $105 billion so that educators will have the resources they need to safely reopen. That is way above the other number that was proposed. If it's something like $70 billion or $80 billion, it's $105 billion. Now, Republicans might say, see, we're not giving state and local governments aid, $1 trillion, but we're going to give it directly to the schools. How are they going to give that money to the schools? Are they only going to give it to schools that reopen, that follow their policies? That's going to be interesting to note. Lastly, if you haven't seen it, the infamous Sunday interview with Fox News, Chris Wallace, you should check out that interview. Obviously, when they had their little disagreement on whether Biden actually supported defunding the police or not. But they also went on, Chris Wallace asked President Trump directly, if the bill doesn't include a payroll tax cut, will you not sign that bill? And Donald Trump said, I have to see, but yeah, I would consider not signing it if we don't have a payroll tax cut. I think that he's full of nonsense and he knows it. But he answered that one well, because he didn't say he wouldn't. And he didn't say he would. He said, we'll have to wait and see, because I don't think there's going to be a payroll tax cut included in the next bill. There's no support from Democrats, and there is only a little bit of support from Republicans, and many are even pushing against it. So I don't think it's going to be in there. And I think when he gets the bill and it's not in there, I think he's going to sign it. And people might say, hey, you said you might not sign it. He said, yeah, I said, I'll look at it. I'll look into it, but I signed it. It's a good bill. That's what's going to end up happening, in my opinion. But the big news is Mitch McConnell said that there is going to be another direct payment to the American people. There's going to be an evening edition. If you enjoyed this really quick, like boom, 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 giving you out the information, explaining to you what I think it means and how to interpret it, consider subscribing to the channel. We're going to keep all of our updates like this really quick. I'm going to try to get better at being quicker and quicker with the information. Not so quick that it's not understandable, but quick enough that you guys don't have to stick around and wait through a bunch of nonsense like what I'm doing right now in order to finally receive the information that you've been waiting for. Can you just tell me what's going on? That is what we are going to do here for the next 2 weeks while there's so much information coming out. So hopefully I'll see you guys in a little bit for the evening edition of your stimulus update.